A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 174th episode of Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. Just over 2 years ago, when the pandemic had just set in and schools had closed down, we at Notebook felt it was our duty to set up a platform for educators to connect meaningfully on, discussing problems that they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning, and arrive at common solutions. Today, 174 episodes later, this platform has grown much bigger than we could have ever anticipated, all thanks to your love and support. We've discussed extremely curricular topics here like digital learning, NEP and assessments, extracurricular topics like sports and theatre, topics like school finance and management, and even evolved topics like mental health. Today, we look at the NIOS system of education. The NIOS system stands for the National Institute of Open Schooling. What this system is all about, what are the various advantages and disadvantages, I will leave that to the experts that you have. I will just narrate two incidents that kind of exposed to me the two diametric opposite facets of this particular system. One was before we started Notebook, we were researching the various forms of education that existed. We were speaking to somebody who was aware of the quota system of education. And this person told us that NIOS was harming the education system because it offered students who did not want to be in school and yet get the degree, the certification, the validation of having been through a school system. That was my initial idea of the NIOS system. Fast forward a year or year and a half, and we were on a road show. We were traveling across the country, meeting various schools. And I remember visiting a particular school where the principal had this young girl sitting in his office. The girl was not in a school uniform. And the girl was getting ready for a lab exam. And I asked the principal, sir, what is her story? The principal said that this student is a brilliant student. Unfortunately, due to tremendous pressure from the parents, this young student has undergone a mental breakdown. Today, after years of counseling with psychiatrists, she is now able to come back into the school system. We did not want her to lose a year, which is why we had this beautiful system that could afford her the chance to write an exam without having to go through further torture. That's the beauty of the NIOS system. Two extremely diametric opposite ends that I was exposed to. And today I look at our experts, our panelists, to tell us what this NIOS system is all about, the advantages, the disadvantages, and what is perhaps some of the best ways to use this system to our advantage. The first speaker on this topic today is Mr. Philip Barrett. Mr. Barrett retired from the illustrious Doon School in Dehradun after 44 years of school education. Mr. Barrett served the Doon School as housemaster, head of department, dean of activities, dean of student welfare, deputy headmaster, second master, and acting headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at Wellington College, UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. And we at Notebook are privileged to have him as our senior advisor. Sir, thank you so much for sparing the time to be here today. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Subayu, for that introduction. I hope I am audible.
Perfectly, sir.
A very good evening to you and everyone at Notebook, including Achin and Meghna and Gagori, Abhishek, and also to our esteemed panelists and all those who have tuned in. I did do a little reading on the NIOS, and I must tell you that I know many parents who have opted not to send their children to a formal school and actually have homeschooled them. And these kids have gone on to doing college and have jobs and have done very well for themselves. And so there is a certain type of person who will not go to school. These are the weak students, students who find it hard to cope with regular schools, who have to relocate from towns to town frequently, who had disciplinary issues with their normal schools, or who had physical or learning disabilities. Sometimes they have to look after aged parents. They are also breadwinners. They bring in some money to the house, look after siblings. There are students who want to improve their grades, but don't want to go back to school. So therefore, a student from class 10 or 12 can re-register to improve his grades or her grades. The students from disadvantaged sections of society too, who have to attend night classes, who might have autism, learning disabilities, as I mentioned, certain, acid attack victims, people who have speech defects, and other physical defects. So I think at the onset, NIOS is a correspondence course. It's a distance learning course through an open and distance mode. It offers online education, and it has courses whereby a candidate can attend classes through video conferencing, rely on online study material, submit online assignments, interact with teachers online, and even appear in exams online. It was established in 1989 as an autonomous organization in keeping with the national policy on education, Ministry of Education. It is formerly known as the National Open School. It has certain strong points. It is very inclusive. Whatever one's special abilities, whatever one's socio-economic status, everyone can join. It's open to all. As long as you are 14 plus and you've passed class 8, you qualify. Education is universal. You can have access to NIOS education through an open and distance learning system anywhere in India. It offers continuing education. One can continue one's education even after a gap, and you can drop a year. And maybe when you're ready for something, you can carry on. It is very job and vocational and skill oriented. The board offers very good opportunities to complete vocational and skill education through the open learning system. It is broad-based, provides such a large array of vocational, life enrichment and community courses, besides, of course, the general academic courses at both the secondary and senior secondary level. It also offers some elementary courses through its open basic educational program, which caters to the need of a heterogeneous group of learners up to the college level. And, it's accepted anywhere. All the universities, the University Grants Commission, the Association of Indian Universities, everyone accepts this. Even employers accept the Open University, certification. It also provides a lot of freedom and flexibility. You can continue education, from anywhere at your own pace. It does not force you to keep pace with the others, and you can take much longer of your education. The array of subjects that I mentioned earlier is so large that no ordinary school can ever offer such an array of subjects, because, of course, ordinary schools are confined to number of staff and the timetabling is limited. So you need to do, you can do a maximum of 7 subjects and a minimum of 5 subjects. So you can choose any combination that you wish to. Also, you can have many chances at the examination. If one fails in a paper, one can redo the paper under a demand examination system called the ODE, on-demand examination. Gives you a chance to pass. It makes things so easy for students. It's decentralized. Public exams are held online or physically at Kendra Vidyalas, Navodaya Vidyalas, government schools, private schools, any school that's affiliated with CBSE board. Also, they try to up the quality of their education through textbooks which are sent online. There's online material, there's also textbook material, posted material. And as I said, it's recognized by everybody. Now, NIOS does not have the reputation. It has the reputation of being an easy exam. However, it doesn't mean that one can pass without doing any work. I mean, you do have to put in your work. And while the exams are online, there are also provisions for virtual classes, online classes, practical classes, and other resource materials through the digital libraries and self-learning. It is reputed to be one of the most authentic open university systems in the world, recognized, as said, by everyone. About 1 million students enroll in this NIOS. However, the pass percentage is abysmally low, only 40%. In 2021, the pass percentage was 57% for class 12 and 42% it was 57% for class 10 and only 42% for class 11. So that doesn't look too good. Now, if you look at the array of vocational classes, I mean, it is mind-boggling. There's laundry services, solar energy technicians, you have typewriting, you have stenography. It is such a very, very vast array of subjects. Let's take the disadvantages. The problem with NIOS is that students just don't have the ability to, ask questions and solve their problems and clarify their questions immediately, since they don't have a personal connect with the teacher. Thus, many of them will go to coaching classes. And as Subayu mentioned earlier, it gives the coaching classes a leg up in life. So they make their money, but again, you're trapped in this tuition racket. And so, as I said, students don't have that connect with teachers. And sometimes it's the personal connect with your teacher which actually makes all the difference. Also, sometimes the study material is not up to the mark, it's not available, books are in short supply, sometimes no connectivity, internet connectivity. Just imagine two students, one who's had 12 years of schooling in an ordinary school and one who is doing the open school. So there's so much learning outside the class that happens in a normal school that I think the NIOS students are disadvantaged to this in this way. Also, I think there's the lack of extracurricular activities that normal schools offer. The NIOS student will have to find time to join a club and do other things. One would also have to be very disciplined to be able to sit down and study regularly, consistently, do one's assignments, post them back. Normal student has a teacher and other people to make sure this happens. Also, I think quality may be suspect, as I said earlier, because of the lack of material, lack of teacher contact. Sometimes the quality of the pass, the result may not be the same as a person going to normal school. I must say that in a country like ours, where the demand for schooling is so big, the demand for certification far outstrips the number of schools. And if you look at our country, it's so vast. There are so many remote areas where there's not even a school. I think this is where NIOS comes in and makes education available to the masses. It has come to the rescue. It can qualify young people who are looking for a job, looking for a vocation, looking for some money earning skill development. This is where I think the NIOS comes in and helps people. Also in our country, there's this myth that every school leaver has to get to college. I think that this is wrong. I think there are people who can get a job without going to college. So you finish school, do an NIOS vocational skill qualification and get a job. There are people who need to earn for their families and not wait and waste 3 years of a college degree, which in any case doesn't qualify you for a job. It's only an academic qualification. You still have to do a master's in some professional subject. And therefore, I think in a country like ours, where not everyone needs to or wants to go to college or can afford college, I think the NIOS fills a great gap. With this, Subayu, I hope I have laid some foundation for our experts and Achin to take it on from here. Thank you very much for listening.
So thank you so much for that wonderful start. I think now all of us in our heads have a very clear idea of what NIOS is. However, unlike other days, so there was one point that you mentioned where I would have to disagree with you today. You said that sometimes the personal contact with the teacher makes all the difference. Sir, I believe, and our experience with Together for Education says that all the times, it is the one factor that makes the most difference in a child's education, the contact with the teachers. So it is teachers like you who go on to create students who make the country better.
Very kind of you, Mr. Bayo.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker on this topic is Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland, and a member of CIMA UK. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. An avid reader and a passionate traveler, Achin has keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shubha, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, loud and clear.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session on a topic which is both interesting as well as debatable. When Queen Elizabeth was a young girl, she received a high-quality education at home with the help of a governess. I was reading about this named Marion Crawford and several other tutors. This education was not entirely isolated from other children. Queen learned alongside her sister, Princess Margaret. But when we discuss this topic about homeschooling from British royal family, let's come back home. I was reading about our very own child prodigy. We have been reading about him for last few years, I think 4 or 5 years. A very familiar name, Sadhna Seth, a wonder kid who surprised his parents with his cognitive abilities. And when he was only 13, he was the youngest member of Team Indus, which was at that point of time building a spacecraft to the moon as part of Google's Lunar X Prize contest. And 2 years prior to that, he finished Stanford's online course on databases and cryptography. According to his parents, he moved rapidly beyond what was being taught at school, and they could watch that every day. So they had very clearly they had two options. And rather than stunning his growth, they thought they might as well let him read on his own. Now, today's topic, I think Barrett sir gave us a wonderful overview with regard to NIOS, and we also have esteemed delegates, panelists here with decades of experience. So I'll not go into nitty-gritties of NIOS per se, but if we take a more holistic perspective and look at this whole concept of open schooling, of homeschooling, although personally, I don't subscribe to this, because the way I always look at it, I think rendering quality education is only a part or only, I'll say, one of the expectations that any parent has from a school. I think a school's role is far bigger. A teacher's role is far bigger. There's no doubt about it. As miniature versions of the society, schools are involved with all-round development of the child. Having said that, if we take a step back and take a look at today's topic. So this whole modern homeschooling movement began in 70s when John Holt, an educational theorist and supporter of school reform, began arguing that formal schools focus on rote learning and also create an oppressive classroom environment designed to make children compliant employees of the future. And he called for parents to liberate their children from formal education and instead follow a method which is today known as unschooling. I'm sure these terms are very familiar today. Now, early followers of this particular thought process, early Holt followers, connected through Holt's newsletter. So there was a newsletter which was being published regularly in 1970s, started from 1977. Growing Without Schooling was the name of the newsletter that was being published every, on a regular interval. And parents also contributing to that newsletter. And soon after Holt's arguments inspired the first batch of homeschoolers, his friend, another very well-known education theorist, Raymond Moore, added his voice, arguing that early schooling was detrimental to children and that children should be schooled at home until age 8 or 9 in order to give them a firm educational, psychological, and moral foundation. In 1981, Moore's book, Homegrown Kids, quickly became very popular once it was published and was often the first book homeschoolers read. It became like a Bible for homeschoolers. Some parents, and we're discussing about a global phenomena around the globe, have begun homeschooling not only for pedagogical reasons, I think that's only one part of the story, but also for individual pragmatic reasons. Globally, a segment of our society feels let down by the existing system of schooling. They feel the one, and today if you look at what's happening around the globe, various countries, etc., our schooling system is considered to be one of the best in the world, Indian schooling system. There is no doubt about it. It's robust and time-tested. But globally, if you look at communities, if you look at various sections of the society, parents at times they do feel let down. They feel that one-size-fits-all approach to schooling limits their children from achieving their full potential. They believe that children deserve more personalized and individualized mentoring in the interest of their choice, areas of their choice, actually what they want to do, subjects which they love, which the existing system is not designed to handle. And today, if you look at achievers, for instance, a very well-known tennis players, say for instance, Maria Sharapova, Venus and Serena Williams, who were homeschooled to help them with the demands of sports training and tournament. And why am I mentioning this? If there are 3 examples on this side, there are 3 millions on the other side. The whole reason for mentioning this is because the fact that for them, it was really important to balance sports and education. I think homeschooling really helped. Some other very famous homeschoolers include Thomas Edison, Theodore Roosevelt, Agatha Christie, and Alexander Graham Bell. So the question is that once we hear these names, first thought that comes, and very naturally, is that did homeschooling begin in the Western world? Is it all with regard to Western world? Not at all. In fact, everyone in ancient India was either homeschooled or sent to Gurukul to acquire knowledge and skills. The Gurukuls were exactly what the micro schools claim to be. There's another concept, another nomenclature, which I'm sure all of you are very well aware of, micro schools. Thus, neither the tradition of homeschooling nor the concept of micro schooling is new. It has been around for a very long time. Microschooling, for instance, seems to be an extension of homeschooling culture. The big difference is that for homeschoolers, the onus to direct learning falls on parents, whereas in micro schools, the onus shifts to expert mentors. And micro schools are much smaller than compared to formal schools. Very, very small structures, and the whole claim to fame is about individual attention. They follow their own curriculum and allow students of different ages to learn together. And post graduating from a micro school, students will still need to take examination either offered by NIOS or IGCSE to pursue higher education in India. In spirit, micro schools are like Gurukuls. Many people would like to refer to them as glorified coaching centers also, if you look at things from a different perspective, as they want to capitalize the dissatisfaction of a section of parents towards recognized formal schooling system. However, I think it's easier said than done, because homeschooling commitment is not easy. If you look at things from a parent's perspective, it's very easy to criticize an existing structure. But ensuring that homeschooling is effective actually takes a lot, be it in terms of vision. For instance, what do you actually hope to accomplish when you choose to keep your children at home to educate them? What is the vision? Research? And it's a huge part of being a successful homeschooler, because parents are now, if in case of homeschooling, parents are solely responsible for a children's education. And it is a job that actually consumes a lot of time. It may not be impossible, but undoubtedly very demanding. Third, the aspect of planning. Another huge part of homeschooling commitment is planning for the entire year. And effective planning requires commitment. And post-planning, naturally, next thing that will come is execution. Execution of homeschool, day-to-day work. And here, I think sticking to a routine at home each day, a strict time schedule, naturally, it's very demanding, very challenging for an individual parent. And the other part is objective evaluation. Now, how do you ensure that there's an objective evaluation? Because after you have done all the research, planning, execution, it stands to reason that evaluating that whether the system is working or not is the next logical step. Now, do we ever stop long enough to ask ourselves if what we're doing is really working? I think that's another question. So I was reading about two very interesting incidents of past, two very famous Nobel laureates, and their views on homeschooling, who favored homeschooling for themselves. Rabindranath Tagore, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature, and Marie Curie. She won 2 Nobel Prizes, one in chemistry and the other in physics. And both of them considered that creativity and learning actually blossomed when the individual needs of students were accommodated. They believed that the traditional structured classroom was suffocating. And Tagore, in fact, went on to found a school, as all of us are aware, and then a university that incorporated his principles. And the other Nobel laureate, Curie, arranged for her 2 daughters to learn in an unstructured environment at home for the early part of their school career. Now, if you look at their achievements, the way they thought, for instance, now in case of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, a philosopher, artist, poet, playwright, musician, a social reformer, and the first non-European to be awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. And despite all these distinctions, Tagore never earned a formal academic degree, never ever. And while referring to his own education in various interviews, articles, he spoke about freedom and not discipline. He described his childhood home, which inspired his point of view, as one in which freedom in the power of our language, freedom of imagination in our literature prevailed. So things like rote learning, routinized instruction, to him were stifling and counterproductive. And Tagore believed that education was an organic process in which individuals responded to the environment. Much in his philosophy of education resembled also what the other Nobel laureate that we're discussing, Marie Curie, said. And both of them placed very strong emphasis on nature. And they believed that exposure to brilliant minds and brilliant work would actually elevate and not frustrate a child. Now, today, if you take a step and if you actually see that what was the result, for instance, both of them believe that children should live in harmony with nature. And Tagore, in fact, created this harmony further. He believed in the function of education to foster harmony between people. He wanted children to be taught arts, especially music, because he thought that that would enable them to develop empathy. And he thought that it will ensure that today, if you look at if you look at the geopolitical scenario, be it wars, territorial conquest, etc., he thought that if children are able to develop empathy, and music is the way forward. Music actually has a huge role to play. Creativity has a huge role to play. And the other Nobel laureate that we were discussing about, and very, very interesting here in this particular case, was that the fact that she homeschooled her two daughters. And that entire curriculum, I was going through it, how she thought, also involved vigorous physical activity. Be it installing gym equipments at home, be it taking them for camping trips, trekking through countryside, extensive biking trips. And along with that, by rotation, various subjects were taught in a very interesting manner to ensure that children actually understand the connect with real world. And eventually, one of her daughters went on to win a Nobel Prize in 1935, and later continued to do groundbreaking research in nuclear physics. And the other daughter, a journalist, diplomat, and humanitarian. Now, whether their mother's approach to education enabled a lifetime of accomplishment or not, it would be hard to say. But their lives and achievements certainly make a good argument for those who believe that a rigid curriculum may not be a path to a great mind. Having said that, there are pitfalls as well. And I think some pitfalls Burrett are referred to, and I couldn't agree more. I completely agree with her on this. For instance, parents restricting their child's learning to their own personal choices. That is when the system becomes skewed. Parents should be responsible enough to provide exposure that is not limited to their own views alone. The other challenge, of course, is time commitment. It takes a great deal of time every day, particularly if parents need to homeschool more than one child. Because it's not only about sitting down with book, it's also about experiments, project, lesson planning, ensuring that papers are properly graded, ensuring field trips are taking place, park days, music lessons. It's a huge responsibility. Of course, personal sacrifice is also involved, because for parents, it will be very difficult to carve out time for themselves if they're seriously into homeschooling. Then the financial impact of it, on the face of it, it might look that homeschooling is inexpensive, but that's actually a myth. Considering the fact in today's nuclear families, both parents are working, it will actually be very difficult for a parent to continue full-time working if they also take the responsibility of educating a child at home. So these are a few thoughts that I wanted to share. Of course, as I told you, that personally, as far as my views are concerned, I completely believe that schools are irreplaceable, and I don't think homeschooling is the way forward. But then that's my view. We would like to hear from our panelists, very senior and seasoned educators with decades of experience, their views on this particular topic. I thank all of you for giving me a very patient hearing. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we do have a wonderful panel lined up for you. But before I introduce the panel, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an edtech organization. We create short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. Now, these videos come in handy in two different ways. One is when you, as a teacher, are introducing a new topic in your classroom, you can play one of these videos as a method of visually introducing the topic to your students. These videos, usually just 6 to 10 minutes in duration, will take up very little of your class time while offering the right kind of material to students to generate curiosity and excitement. The second is when the student is studying at home months later. They have access to the same videos on their personal devices, be it a laptop or a smartphone or whatever they can get their hands on. They can watch the videos over and over again until they get a very clear understanding of the topic that you had taught. I'm now going to play a short snippet of some of Notebook videos so that you know what Notebook videos exactly look like.
Hello all. In today's video lesson, we are going to read a fantastically messy comedy. Have you ever met anyone who creates a clutter every step he or she takes, be it standing in an alley on the wrong side of a self-locking door or conveniently forgetting a room number several times a day. This gentleman has done it all.
डकैत पहले आदमी को मार देते हैं, फिर उसकी तलाशी लेते हैं। लेखक और सुमति भिखमंगों के वेश में यात्रा कर रहे थे, अतः वे जहाँ भी डाकुओं वाली स्थिति देखते, अपनी टोपी उतारकर भीख मांगने लगते।
Different animals have different organs for movement. We walk and move using our limbs. Animals use their limbs for running, walking, or hopping. Birds use their wings for flying, and fishes use their fins for swimming in water. Animals such as snakes and lizards slither using their body and limbs.
I have to set the alarm before I go to bed or I shall be late for school tomorrow.
Hey, at what time will you set the alarm?
Now it's 11 p.m. Well, I need to study for 2 hours and then I need to sleep. So I will set the alarm at 8 a.m.
Do you know you just used algebra to calculate the time for setting your alarm?
Not again. Don't say that. We use algebra in real life.
Okay, tell me for how many hours will you sleep if you set the alarm at 8 a.m. from now?
7 hours?
But how did you perform the calculation? See, you used algebra without even knowing it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, those were just some snippets of a few of the notebook videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, or use our apps for Android and iOS, you would have more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. And we hope that you will find it useful for yourself and your students. With that done, it is now time to introduce the wonderful panelists that we have with us today. We are privileged to have with us Mrs. Hemlata Suri, who is a counselor in New Delhi. She is a passionate psychologist and a registered rehabilitation professional with rich experience in both corporate sector and mental health. She is an alumnus of the University of Delhi and Jamia Millia Islamia. She is impaneled as a CBSE counselor and a rehab psychologist for the last 9 years and has experience in the corporate sector as well. She is also working with Manodarpan as part of the MHRD and CBSE helplines. She is one of the founding members and resource person of some eminent teachers forums and Int'l, which is a non-profit organization run by IIT Delhi students that creates online and offline learning resources for children from diverse backgrounds. Her endeavor is to create much needed awareness about mental health and break the stigma attached to mental illnesses, promote education, especially for young girls, and she has been conducting many free sessions and workshops for the same. She's currently pursuing her PhD. Ma'am, welcome back to the panel. Always a pleasure to have you. We also have with us Ms. Rashmi Singh, who is the principal at the Poddar Brio International School in Badlapur. She started her career as A-level and IGCSE faculty in RIMS International School and Junior College in Juhu, Mumbai. She has headed the physics department of Poddar International School located in Santa Cruz and was shortlisted for a teacher exchange program in the US. Her students have secured world topper ranks in subjects of physics under her guidance for A-levels. She was a trainer in an international curriculum, and she is the principal and CEO at the Poddar Brio International School located at Badlapur East. She has a master's degree in physics alongside a B.Ed. Ma'am, thank you so much for sparing the time to be here today. We look forward to hearing your views on this topic. We also have with us Dr. Anju Mehrotra, who is the principal of Kalka Public School, who has been associated with academic organizations like CBSE, NCRT, SCRT, DIET, IIT, ASCDOL, GGS IPU, CIET, Jamia, Next Education, Digital Learning, and many such organizations. She has been a member of Textbook Writing Committee for Class 11 NCERT, as well as for the subject of political science, and has also been a part of Center of Higher Education Learning Capacity of Mentor, speaker, and has delivered lectures on value education in Delhi University, Indraprastha University, Jamia Staff College, IITs, and IIMs. Dr. Mehrotra has been a paper setter and moderator for Jamia School, management member of Board of Studies for Jamia and Dipale School, Center Nodal Supervisor for the last 10 years for subjects like political science for class 12 and social science and English for class 10, Center Superintendent for various CBSE, UGC, judiciary and other exams, to name only a few. She has worked with Noor Women Welfare Organization and has been honored many times for the same. She has also been felicitated by numerous awards. To name a few, the Dr. Abdul Kalam Memorial Ignited Mind Award, the CBSE State Teachers Award, Corona Arya Veer Samman 2020, Mahamasha Dayanand Sadbhavana Award 2021, Edu Visionary Award 2021 by Azvasa.in, and so many others. Ma'am, thank you so much for sparing the time to be here on the panel. We look forward to your views and learning from your presence. I shall now stop the screen share and switch on my video now. Once again, a very, very good evening and a warm welcome to all the panelists to our discussion.
Good evening.
Hemlata ma'am, if I may come to you first.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Dr. Mehrotra, it's a pleasure to have you. Hemlata ma'am, if I may come to you first. Ma'am, with this NIOS system, what according to you are the major advantages and disadvantages?
Good evening and namaskar. Thank you so much for having me and having such a wonderful introduction. And it's always nice to be back here on this platform of wonderful educational system. And, you know, as if you talk about NIOS, it is formally known as National Open School. And it's always been an option for children who have been, you know, economically backward, and they are marginalized, and they have learning issues. Since I work with children with special needs and slow learners at school and in various setups, this comes really handy. And, you know, when I look for advantages, I find it really fantastic system because it helps them to pursue their interest, hobbies, since all we need is end of the day, education is supposed to sustain them, let them live their life and let them be independent. That is what one of the most important motto which I feel education should give them and make them a good human being end of the day, and not to be dependent on others. When it comes to disability sector, it becomes a fantastic option, and for children and people who want to pursue education, but they have some personal obligations, as well as they have some issues which they have to take care. I mean, as we know that we are one of the youngest nation in the world, and so this education system, this NIOS, is one of the largest open boards in the world, and this is something I can vouch for, that it helps them in a real way, because in our school also we run this system. And we have weekly classes, and children who cannot come, we conduct online sessions for them. And best part is that they can, look for and reach out for the online recorded lectures which are there. So the material which I find is excellent, which is based on NCERT curriculum. And it's not very complex for them, because since they don't have any tutors, they don't have access to a lot of educational support system like regular students have. So I find it really a good choice, since it is not very complex and they don't have a time-bound appearance for the examination. Like if they're not able to appear in the exam in March and April, they can always go in for this October thing. So that is something very nice. And 14 years is the upper age, and then the minimum age with this they can appear, and then there is no upper age which is there. So as I believe, learning can never stop, and with this system, definitely they don't have other things also, like they don't have peer pressure, they don't have study pressure, which is very much there. Since we know, the education system is very robust in our country, it is one of the bestest, but I find it very academically very heavy. So that becomes one of the negative points for me as a psychologist. I don't, want children to be just academically sound end of the day. So this system helps them to, evade that peer pressure which they go through. And sometimes even inclusion does not happen in a real life setting in schools. If a child is coming from a economically backward place and coming from a family which is not having proper system, discord, marital discord, background is domestically, they're not sound. So this system actually, saves them from that social stigma which they generally go through. Schools try their level best. There are bestest of the policies on inclusion, But inclusion, I feel, is an attitude which has to be there with all the teachers. I mean, with due regards and my humble apology, but I don't find inclusion as an attitude in everyone who is here right now. So this is something very important here. So this NIOS system helps them to be on their own, to identify their skills, to work on their own ways. And I can say something like this, that they have teachers who can guide them. Because I have found, I know of students who are pursuing studies through NIOS system, and they are in touch with teachers who are there in the school. So that is not completely missing. If they really want to make difference in their lives, they can do it. And since they have excellent study material, they have time, I mean, their own time bound thing, they can choose the examination whenever they want to give, and they get maximum of 3 chances and 5 years to complete a course, which is again something very nice, ample time which is given, and subjects which they can choose of their own choice, which is a beautiful thing to happen. And only thing I feel is that human contact, as Barrett sir also mentioned, that human touch is very important. Those interaction with their own peers is missing, that is there. But everyone is not that so lucky, but at least I believe that they are getting education, which is the most important thing which is there. There's access to this system. So that's it from me.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think you gave us the broad outlines, the contours of what could be the areas of advantage and disadvantage. Rashmi, ma'am, if I may come to you next. Ma'am, this system seems to have evolved from a point of view of saying that the dissemination of knowledge is perhaps the most important part of schooling that cannot be done away with. The rest of it can be modified to suit somebody's certain difficulties that they might want to overcome. Is that a fair assessment, or am I missing a lot?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the notebook community to have given me this opportunity to speak on NIOS. And I thank you, sir, for giving me this wonderful question. First of all, I would like to bring the broader view of why NIOS, how NIOS, and the objectives of NIOS. Well, let me tell you the broader perspective of NIOS, which all of us as educationists should understand, is the literacy of the country is the prime objective of introducing this NIOS system into our national curriculum framework, be it of CBSE or CISE or any other board. So the perspective is, let there be an increase in the national rate of literacy. Secondly, we also need to understand, this policy came only in the year 2000, in 1989, where I remember my own parent who wanted to pursue further education into medical sciences, but due to family pressure, he couldn't do it. So one of our siblings is a doctor now. So what I'm trying to say is, there are people who may obviously get some constraints somewhere in the life, because we are still growing in terms of economy, in terms of our own personal and professional growth. But let people find a way out wherever they come across a roadblock. Okay, NIOS is a system where even if in the due course of my work, in my professionalism, if I'm not able to prepare for one particular year or for one particular term, I still have opportunities which are spanned in a close time frame. For example, here in NIOS, if I miss an exam in a term, I have an opportunity after 3 months that I can reappear and I can clear the examinations. So here I believe people who are, of course, economically backward, the people who have missed on their education due to whatever reasons, so they get to go ahead with their education. They get to contribute to the literacy rate of our country, and they get to support the economic system. And the best part is these children who have opted NIOS after as age group prescribed by ma'am, 14 years, they have their equal contribution to all the facets of the employment in the country, be it the defense system, be it any other engineering aspect or any other aspect. They are equally, they're considered equally competent to contribute their role as per their competency. So I believe NIOS is one of the, one of the boon to people who really think that they want to go ahead and they need some guided path with respect to their education. So that's my view, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. Just to clarify, I am playing the devil's advocate here. The moment you take a stand, it is my job to take the opposite stand. It's not that I have a very clear stand to take on NIOS, but I've just realized this is perhaps the best way I get to learn a lot about a particular topic. Dr. Mehrotra, if I may come to you next. Ma'am, with the NEP and the way Indian education system is changing, we are challenging the notions of the importance of a literacy rate. Or what does education actually entail? Is it subject matter knowledge? In that parlance, is NIOS a little backdated?
Good. Yeah, a good question, I must say. Before that, thank you, Notebook, for giving this platform. And before I say something else, I would really like to appreciate the kind of background Rashmi ma'am has kept, because that really motivates the others also, because at the back, there's a green board. So the kind of convention what we have in our mind that it is always the blackboard, and we relate blackboard with education and literacy, right? So we are just going to break that, right? And it is the green board. Similarly, here I want to say that education, the basic purpose of education for all. Our country says that we have to give education to all. And when this particular slogan, education for all came up, there was an idea that there should not be any age bar. There should not be any formal schooling. The people who have missed out, their education for some or the other reasons, right? There has to be some organization, some institution which is going to cater to their needs. And there came up, the institute called National Institute of Open Schooling. But when this particular open schooling is there, it is, I don't know whether we should call it fortunately or unfortunately, but this has never been the, you can say, the first choice of the learners. If under certain circumstances only the people would like to go for NIOS, otherwise everybody wants to have the formal and the structured form of education. We understand the purpose of our education, end of the day, is not just to, create the literary, say, educated people, but at the same time to create human beings as well, right? So for that, the eye contact coming into, with the human being, touch with the human beings for their cognitive development, for their emotional and psychological development, coming to school is very, very important. So schooling is basically the 360-degree holistic development of the child, right? It's not just, passing a particular exam without achieving any levels of competencies, which are expected to be achieved after the completion of a particular level. So it is not just that. Once they complete that, probably they would be moved on, to the next level. But that is only the academic achievement. But we have to see everything, in a broader perspective, in a, in a broader horizon, wherein we feel that it is not just the cognitive and the academic excellence what we are looking for. It is much, much, much beyond that. So we want to create the human beings, right? Those human beings who understand emotionally, each other, and their physical needs also have to be taken care of. Their physical and health education also is the prime concern of our, of our education system, right? So now the question arises that since, the whole system has become digital, I don't know what Notebook actually is looking for, that whether NIOS is redundant, or this is what you would like to know? Is this the question?
Redundant, but I'm just saying that from a thought process, as you said, education for all.
Yeah.
We have changed the definition of what education entails. It's not subject matter knowledge anymore.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in that scenario, in fact, I believe that the role of NIOS has become more significant. I would like to add on here that I am the, the member of the board that executes the whole system of their structuring their program, their syllabus of NIOS. So just recently, we had just 15 days before only, we had a meeting, it was a board meeting wherein we discussed NIOS, is no longer a small body, right? It is really gaining strength, right? It is becoming very, very popular. And now the organization which used to be not the first choice of the learners, right? But at the same time, now the people who are like, they have crossed that particular age when they can go for a formal schooling, even those people are joining NIOS, since we know that age is not the bar here, right? So recently you must have read the news also, where in Bihar, father and son both appeared for class 10 exams, right? And there, I mean, the point which really needs to be noted is that father cleared and son could not qualify, right? So it's like this. So what I'm trying to say here is that, in fact, digitalization of education has really contributed more to the promotion of NIOS, because it is not just nowadays just sending the notes to the students, but they have started using technology, to a very, very great extent in their curriculum. And in fact, they have recorded certain YouTube videos, they have recorded the lessons, and those are very much available to the learners anytime, at their own convenience, at their own time. They can watch those lessons, they can learn those lessons. And in fact, there is a panel of teachers available, to whom they can ask their questions anytime. Once they just take the appointment with those teachers, right, they can prepare their questions, and those teachers are very much available to sort out their doubts also. So now those doubt sessions are also available. In fact, digitalization has, to a very, very great extent, it is really helping NIOS, to promote what exactly is the motto, is the purpose of NIOS. So now more and more people are coming up, since age is not the bar, the adult people are also joining NIOS, and moreover, the people, the students, especially at the age group of I must say 14 to 20 years, wherein they are able to they are supposed to complete their higher education, the senior secondary education. Those students, with their own choice, it's not just by chance or not by force or under any circumstances, by choice, they are also opting for this NIOS, because NIOS has got the repute now. It is a reputed institution, and it is really contributing to a great extent as far as our education system is concerned. When overall we find that there is, some kind of...
I think we lost connection with Dr. Mehrotra. We'll just wait for ma'am to join back. That was absolutely enlightening. In fact, given how NIOS is becoming more relevant right now. Rashmi ma'am, if I may come to you, I'll take a leaf out of what Hemlata ma'am said earlier about the education system needing to be more inclusive, right? Now, for a system to be inclusive, it cannot create two different pockets for two different kinds of students. It has to have one structure that caters to everybody equally. Now, ma'am, given how the schools have become more and more borderless over the last couple of years, today a hybrid education model actually exists across the country. Do you see a possibility where NIOS and CBSE merge into becoming one cohesive system?
Well, let me tell you, sir. NIOS, as ma'am was talking, Mehrotra madam just said, like CBSE or CISE or any other board, it is emerging to be one of the largest boards, that is now coming into picture, with a lot of enrollments into NIOS, lot of students opting for NIOS for whatever reasons. They have choices. It's not the specific strata of the society that someone is underprivileged or someone has lost the track of education due to whatsoever reason. But people are themselves thinking that they want to learn at their own pace. They want to opt their own subjects, which of course the NEP 2020 has come up with a lot of variations and a lot of student-centric options to select the subjects of their choice. However, NIOS had this already within it. So we can see the merger as it is. We can see the initiative of the merger already there with the MEP coming into picture. However, the best part, which I would say is, yes, as a student, the student gets to understand, okay, these are the subjects I'm interested in, and I may not be able to complete my preparation in a span of a year or a 2 year. I may take my own time. I may take a, maybe a span of 1 year or more than that. Whenever I feel the comfort of giving the assessments, or when I feel that I'm prepared completely for the attempt of exams, so I feel, that's where the child finds the comfort with NIOS. Moreover, as you were talking about the merger, yes, I could see there's going to be a lot of similarities with respect to the implementation of NEP that is yet awaited in schools to be done. We are waiting for the formal training and the formal inclusion of all the important pointers which are done in the NEP policy. But I believe, yes, there is already a lot of similarities, a lot of aspects in CBSE, which is also taken care in NIOS. So there could be a possibility of merger, sir.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Mehrotra, sorry we lost connectivity with you for a...
Yeah. I lost that connection. Yeah.
But ma'am, I think your points were very well received. Now, whatever little we have learned about NIOS is from the research that we did for this seminar mostly. And it almost looks like NEP borrowed a leaf out of your playbook and said these could be certain changes that CBSE could implement. Ma'am,
Yes.
how does NEP affect NIOS?
Okay. See, NLP, when it comes to NEP, this National Education Policy, this was long awaited. This, in fact, it's a very dynamic document. And most of the things which have already, been there in our education system, they have come to the limelight, they have come to the highlight now only. Of late, we have started talking about it. So this is something, I must say, to be very well taken and very well appreciated, that at least, in our now, in our, the people have started talking about education, and the people have started talking about some kind of reforms which they would like to bring about in this, the whole structure of education. So this will be very well, of course, appreciated in the education scenario. Now, when it comes to, say, NEP and NIOS, I'm sure NIOS has already started working when it comes to the implementation of NEP, and as far as those particular points which will be a part of the whole system. Why? Because NIOS already offers main academic subjects plus vocational subjects, right? So this is what NEP also promotes, that we need to vocationalize our education, in the sense that some skills subjects should be introduced, right? Something which is going to be there, in the future, which is the need, like, say, for example, coding is there, AI is there. So NIOS is also working on it, and they have also started giving and offering these subjects, to their learners. And of course, when it comes to the curriculum, they are also associated with various organizations who are not just helping them, by providing the facility and the faculty, but also giving them the infrastructure, when it comes to, say, the basic PCP. They have the personal contact programs, which are a very, very pertinent and a very prominent part of their whole program. So NIOS is not just, when we say there is no, say, the either the eye contact, you can say, or the personal contact with the teachers. It is not like that. But that particular 15 days or 20 days of PCP, that is mandatory in the whole system, in any course, whichever class they opt for, after producing their relevant documents, getting them verified, right? And the whole system has become now online. It has become all the more convenient and comfortable for the learners to join, right? People who are there in the remote areas, right? For them, those who were deprived of our education, right? They are really getting this kind of opportunity wherein they can avail all these facilities, just getting themselves enrolled, that to online with NIOS. And when it comes to the implementation of NEP, Digitalization has already begun. It comes to say vocationalization, that has already been very well taken, by NIOS, and they have started working on it. In fact, they were already having the skill subjects with them. And in fact, those subjects were also existing, which were not actually the regular part of our CBSE curriculum, right? Even those were existing earlier only there. And the best part of it is that there is no watertight compartmentalization of the streams. We can't say that this is a science stream or it is a commerce stream. In fact, the choice of discipline is very, very flexible, and they are very liberal in giving the subjects, in offering their subjects to the learners. At their own choice, they can pick up a particular subject which they feel comfortable with. So irrespective of any, say, physics, chemistry, or you cannot go for commerce and say business studies or accountancy with it, you can always combine these subjects and have your own any 5 particular subjects plus 2 vocational subjects. So this is the combination over there. And NEP, of course, that structure will be taken care of. But when it comes to the other boards as well, they all have to be in synchronization. This particular policy, it is very much in sync with the philosophy of NIOS. So I say that NFP has actually come up as a blessing, to NIOS, and this will certainly be a great push, which will really be promoted, because we want that we have to fix up a particular target. Our goal should be there that by this particular, say, 2030, if we want NEP to be implemented, or if we want that the education for all, that goal has to be achieved. So for that, each one of us has to come forward. As educators, we just are not responsible, for our own school or our own institution, but we are responsible for the society, for the growth. And that is the reason the programs like, say, SUPW and all, we are promoting, the adult education as well. And at the same time, we promote NIOS so that the people, in our vicinity, wherever they are, if they are deprived of anything, any other opportunity, this is something there which is coming right to them, at their own pace, at their own, say, all facilities coming to them. And that too, how? Digitally, online. So they don't have to even travel anywhere. They don't have to spend much money. And so much facilities, by NIOS has been offered that everything is online. Just right from filling up the form, right from, say, registration till depositing their fees, and even writing their exams, except that mandatory PCP, which I believe is a part of it, very, very important part of it, cannot be ignored. So NEP and NIOS, they have got a good bonding, and times to come, I'm sure this will be strengthened, rather be more prominent, and it'll, that stigma will not be there. Earlier, the people coming from NIOS, people used to say this student, is from open school, right? So that kind of mindset, that stigma used to be there. So that slowly, is fading away, and we have started accepting it. Now they can appear for JEE exams also, they can go for medicine. So everything is open to them. So the people wholeheartedly are accepting these open school students as well. So there is hardly any discrimination which is available. But I don't want to sail in two boats. Both the systems are good in their own ways. This is existing, that's fine. But the personal touch, with the teachers, right? Because here the teachers are the facilitators. They are not just helping, in the cognitive development. Their role is more of, say, life skill, the teachers, the educators, right? So they are promoting the values. They are giving the life skills to the learners, probably, which the NIOS students would be missing, because there the focus is actually a bit different. But in the board meeting, as what I was just mentioning, there we have, I have specially made it a point, and this has been recorded also, that we are going to conduct some life skill classes and the value education and career counseling classes also with the NIOS students. So probably times to come, we will be having these classes online, and we will see to it that if they can be promoted, 1 or 2 sessions in the PCP as well. So I think we should hope for the best, and with a very, very positive note, I feel that all the boards, they carry their own value, and the value and the significance of NIOS should not be ruled out. This is equally important. That's what I feel.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. Ma'am, just a word of caution. I think your connectivity might be acting a little erratic. So your video is going off at times. Just
okay.
keep you informed. But not a problem. You could hear everything you said, and I think some of those are very, very well taken points. I'll just get across to Hemlata, ma'am. Ma'am, given your exhaustive experience particularly with children with special needs, ma'am, how does the NIOS, particularly, you touched upon this earlier on, but for children with special needs and children particularly in the realm of mental health, how does the NIOS system work for them?
It's basically self-paced, so that is the most important thing. And since it's not compartmentalized, like we have strict stream systems, like I have a student who is very good in biology, but going post 10th class in a regular setup, she cannot pursue that. So that is something very important. But then there are issues with learning, learning issues are there, which is like learning disabilities in various subjects especially when it comes to numeracy. So there are issues there. So when it comes to NIOS, we can always offer that subject in that board. And then the rest of the things she can carry on, and then skill-based. So that skill thing, as ma'am said, that I'm really, really very hopeful, for the full and complete implementation of this NEP, which is like complete, it's like a boost to our education system. So we will be again one of the best education system if we just take it in complete implementation is taken in the right spirit, in every school and at every level. So then, something which really helps my students when it comes to skill-based learning, experiential learning, because since we run that center, and many of the schools in Delhi also, they run that center, and we have dedicated staff who work with these students. So we know the difficulty levels, and accordingly we choose the subjects, after doing a lot of counseling with parents and all, because that parental thing, we are very academically oriented society, we expect so much from our students. We don't understand their gray areas along with their strength. We first look at the gray areas, then we think about good points my child is having. So my first question to all such parents is always that first tell me 5 good qualities about your child whenever they come for any kind of counseling. So that is something very important here, and same goes for teachers as well. So we know there are issues. We all know that is apparent in the class. We have been dealing with the child since 0th grade, and then we know the child has issues. But what is important is that education system must bring out their strengths, and we must cash on those strength areas. So that is something we always look for, and we always promote whenever it comes to. And NIOS is a place where they get enough time. Since adolescent age, they are generally struggling with their self, there is identity crisis thing is there. There's a lot of peer pressure at times. They also go through a lot of emotional and physical issues. So that actually gives them enough time to handle, sometimes they are struggling emotionally. This last 2 years, COVID has really created a lot of issues when it comes to mental health. So mental health issues have actually was a parallel pandemic, and it is. And since we know we are one of the youngest nation and we cater to this population, so we need to take care of, because the education system should make them, not break them. That is something which is very important for me when I look at it. So NIOS is something which really supports them, but CBSE is lacking because it's time-paced. You cannot choose the subjects because there are certain groups of subjects you cannot. So we always try to get it done through CBSE, we try to get the subjects changed, but it takes little longer time, and then in regular school, children are pointed out, their own peers. As I said, peer pressure is too much, tremendous peer pressure they go through, and they have emotional issues which crop up. So NIOS is something which we always suggest. Just when they are in class 8, we start telling them about this option, because these are the subjects you can do from there also. So you can enroll from there and they can do it, and it really helps these children. And then it also builds their self-esteem, which is very important. End of the day, what matters is how I feel about myself, how confident I am, how I can face the world when I go out. That is something which is very important at this particular age. And then since we know that this is another thing which actually the parental pressure is too much there, because I'm very sorry, I'm just hitting on the parents, but that is something, the reality which is there and which we face every day. So psychoeducation thing which is done for parents for these children is something which is a big challenge for us. So when it comes to these things, we always prove it by testing. We give them those psychological assessment and prove the skill areas of the child, because that is, end of the day, no one remembers. I mean, what I did in class 9th, I struggled with that algebra, I struggled with that trigonometry chapters, and it's not actually helping me when it comes to the life. So what matters is life skill. As ma'am said, we are, as CBSE is conducting those peer educator life skill sessions, I am part of that, and we cash heavily on that. And I always try to, request to principals to include children with special needs, because most of the time I find them a good speakers. They really speak very well. They express so well when it comes to writing. Maybe he or she is not able to write. There is a writing issue, but then since we are now digitally very sound, they can always use aids which are there, which are available. And I'm sure Notebook also would be designing something specially for these children. I would love to be part of such study material. I mean, I request you to kindly, because your videos really help me a lot. I really help them a lot. I refer to my children and parents. So these are the tools which make them learn, And then, of course, I come back to the topic. NIOS really helps them in a big way when it comes to learning life, knowing about the life, moving out in the big world, and going and doing what they love to do. That is something very important, that freedom to express themselves through their arts, through their paintings, through their writings, and doing certain skill-based things. I have a student who has actually gone on to become a big-time baker. She is one of the most sought after baker, and she was just in class 9th when this pandemic hit us. So we guided her, and she is one of the big-time baker in the city, and she is already earning money, and then we have a support system, because we've already enrolled her for one of the subjects in NIOS, so which is helping her along with parallel CBSE board. She's appeared this year for 10th exam, and this really gives me happiness, because even it's just one student, but then I feel happy that our education system is getting robust and it is supporting. And since ma'am talked about that stigma which was there, which was actually there, is actually fading away. I don't know about the small towns, because there it really matters that child is going to school and regular schooling is happening, because they feel the child is dropped out or something, which tag is not there, because they can happily tell others that I'm studying through NIOS, because NIOS is becoming systematic. Earlier, it was little disorganized in terms of giving out the study material and getting the passes and the roll number, the hall ticket and all. There were such issues which we faced, but then it is really getting robust now, organized, as ma'am said. Online system has transparency and then accountability which comes in hand. So that is making it better. And moreover, it's something, it gives them freedom to learn at their pace, which is one of the most important, which is the basic need of the children with special needs. So thank you for the wonderful question. So that's it from me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your inputs. Well, I started off this conversation being on the borderline. sitting on the fence, not knowing whether I was in favor of NIOS or I was against NIOS, because there were clearly enough views on the internet on both sides, like most things in life. However, now what I'm coming to realize is if I were a CBSE student today, if I had to go through school all over again, I would perhaps do CBSE till about class 6 or 7, convert to NIOS, take my senior years at my pace, picking the subjects that I really like, and just do it that way. Thank you so much. It's been an absolutely enlightening journey. Barrett sir, thank you so much for that wonderful start that you gave us. It's always wonderful. Thank you, ma'am.
Pleasure.
Dr. Mehrotra, thank you so much for giving us that insider view. When we invited you here, we honestly did not know that you're part of the board, but having your views coming from the inside out, ma'am, is such a huge advantage. Rashmi, ma'am, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Luckily, you know, when this particular topic came, so I immediately said yes, you know, because this issue is very close to my heart, and since I am the member of their board, you know, I think I have become their spokesperson, you know, to promote NIOS also.
The changes that you are talking
so
about, value education part, the PCB
so
part,
much.
is
Yeah.
going to be such a huge improvement. And if
Yeah,
notebook
that
can
would be
ever be of any help to the NIOS, please do let us know. We would love to help.
very soon it's coming up. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Thank you.
Hemlata, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
Hemlata,
much.
ma'am, always such a pleasure to have
Everyone.
Thank you.
on topics
Thank
of
you.
mental health, on every time we kind of broach that part of school education system, we get you on our panel, because you've become, ma'am, our resident expert on mental health issues. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be here today.
Thank you so much.
Rashmi, ma'am, thank you so much for sparing your time. I think you raised some really valid points. The way you came out in support of NIOS and the initial points that you made, ma'am, about what the core advantages of the system are and how it's very different from what it was looked at maybe even a decade back or even 5 years back. I think that really opened our eyes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, our privilege. To all the
Thank you so
listeners,
much.
thank you so much for tuning in week after week. You really are the wind beneath our wings, and it is your love and support that keeps us going. We hope to see you again soon on our next topic. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and goodbye.
Sure.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, sir.
much. Thank you.
Good
Thank you so
night.
much.
Thank you, panelists.
Thank you, Shubayu.
Thank you, sir.